If you're looking to get into the world of mouse pads, there's several companies that have an entire lineup broken down by speed, and one of the most budget-friendly options is Infinity Mice. For a little more than $100, you can get their entire lineup with the Infinity Control, the Infinity Hybrid, and the Infinity Speed Pad. They offer the main pads in different colors, but if you're looking for a more custom, unique design, Infinity Mice always drops different limited edition mouse pads with the Vagabond, the Shogun, and the most recent limited edition Ruin pad. The Ruin comes in at 490 by 420 and is 4mm thick. The stitching on the Ruin is below the surface and personally is an improvement over the Vagabond. With the Vagabond, when you feel the stitching up against the pad itself, you can feel a tiny bit of the stitching, whereas with the Ruin, it has a very soft and flat feeling moving across the surface of the pad, which provides a more premium experience, although it's not anything you would truly really notice in the game. The base of the Ruin is made of a very soft IPU material, which is more plush than the mid base that was used in the Vagabond. And generally, most speed pads come in a hard or mid base, but the soft base helps provide more stability and control when you push down on the pad. As always, the backing of the pad has their logo on the back, and it's always a nice touch to the overall design of the pad. The surface is non-coated, incredibly smooth, and you can feel the weave of the fabric during gameplay. The pad has a very soft, consistent glide while maintaining a good amount of stopping power and control when pushing into the base. The pad has low static and dynamic friction, and during testing, I used mice with core pads, stock skates, and Ice V2s, and they all have very similar performance and glide across the board. I don't feel any difference between the X and the Y axis, and the static and dynamic friction are fairly low on this pad as well. Overall, the soft base combined with a fast, smooth surface pairs very well together to offer a lot of speed, but still offer a solid amount of control when you push into the pad. Doing a few quick comparisons between the pads, first I wanted to start with the Ruin compared to the Neptune. Personally, for me, I think the Neptune is a little faster, and I also feel more locked into the Neptune compared to the other pads on my desk. So personally, I perform a little bit better on the Neptune to the Ruin. However, whenever we're talking about the two, overall, I mean, these are still very close together. I feel a little bit more locked into the Neptune, but I could still use the Ruin all day, every day, and not have that be a huge factor whenever I'm playing games. So, I mean, whenever I mention that I perform a little bit better on this pad, it is just a little bit better on the Neptune compared to the Ruin. Next, I wanted to talk about the Crucible. And when we talk about the Crucible for me compared to the Ruin, I feel like the Ruin is a little faster. The Ruin, even with the soft base, I feel like I perform better on the Ruin than I do on the Crucible. Personally, for me, I mean, I love using the Crucible. I've used it a lot lately, but at least whenever I've been using the Ruin the last couple days, the Ruin just performs very well. It has a very smooth glide, it's very fast, and that soft base also provides some more extra control if I need it, if I need to push into the pad, that the Crucible just doesn't offer as much. Like I mentioned, the Neptune doesn't have that, but the Neptune does just provide a more overall locked in feeling purely from the surface, where I don't really have to push into the pad to get that extra control. Next, I wanted to talk about the Dornfinger, and talking about the Firestarter, I'll move it up here really quick, proof that it is the Firestarter. Talking about the Firestarter, the only reason that I wanted to mention this pad is it's an extra soft speed pad. For the Firestarter, the base is using an Alpha Cell base, where the Infinity Mice is using an IPU base, so at least the bases are very different, but the speed are pretty close together. This still offers a very significant amount of speed, and you still have those two comparisons between the two, where this is soft and this is extra soft, still providing a lot of speed. And at least in terms of overall performance, if I wanted something that would be a little slower in terms of overall performance, I would go with the Firestarter. If I'm looking for something a little bit faster, then I would go with a Ruin. And that leaves us with the Infinity Mice pad. When we talk about the Ruin, compared to the other three, we're talking about the Neptune. the Crucible, the Firestarter. The Firestarter isn't going to be as common as the first two, but I think it still needs to be in the conversation. So when we have all three of those pads together, the Neptune, and the Crucible alone have been some of the top rated speed pads in 2024. There is no question, no thought, no comparison. Those two pads are top 5 on most people's minds. And when you add the Ruin to that list, it's very close to all three. This pad performs incredibly well, and with the soft base giving you that extra control, this is a very, very good pad. With that being said, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comment section down below. And with that, I will catch you all next week. Start a riot.